So now I want to talk about mid 20th century art. So a lot of these people you probably have heard their names before. Um, First one's Andy Warhol, so he's probably the most famous. He's a pioneer American pop artist. His style of art embraced the imagery of consumer products, celebrities, and everyday events. So he wanted to take, these common things that people would have or people knew, such as the Campbell soup can, and he wanted to make them into art pieces that people could experience in a different way. So he did the famous Marilyn Monroe artwork, and most of his stuff is either painted or screen printed. So this is screen printed with various colors. So what that means is he had to take a photo, kind of burn it onto a screen, all the little holes that were left over. Um, you put this ink on top of it, kind of get a squeegee, and then the ink goes into those little holes that weren't burned, and then creates this image. It's a complicated process. It's a little easier to explain in person to kind of show you, but that's how this was made. He also did album covers for different bands, so the Velvet Underground, where you could actually peel the banana. He did this, which he did this for the Cincinnati Art Museum, which you can go and see. Jackie Kennedy, more Campbell soup cans. So each one of these is worth about $10 to $20 million, and they're usually all put together on one wall. He also did his famous gun series. Then Jackson Pollock. So this is one of the most controversial artists that a lot of people don't like. So he's known for his abstract expressionist paintings. So he questioned the definition of art. His process included pouring and splattering and dripping paint onto this canvas, which he usually put on the floor, which you kind of saw in this photograph. So a lot of people usually say, oh, I could do that, which you probably could, but he was the first one to do this and sell it, and that's why it's so valuable. And most of these paintings that you'll see are worth about $100 million minimum. So here he is in action. Now, just like other artists that we've talked about, he actually could paint really, really well too. It actually was an accident the way he designed or discovered his splatter painting technique. He was walking in his house, kicked over a paint can, and thought, oh, that would be really interesting. And then he started kind of making it about his emotions. So, when you look at these paintings, if it's kind of a light blue and white, he was in more of a calm and happy mood. But if they were, you know, a little darker like this, he was probably in a more upset mood or tense. And inside these paintings, these are really cool to see in person because they're so large, but they also have different things. Like he would put a cigarette butt out in them, he would smash the paint can and glue it on there. So you can see like nails and things are stuck in there. There kind of gives you a little size reference. This one actually has his name throughout. Next up, Frida. So she's a Mexican artist primarily known for her self portraits. The really crazy part of her story is when she was 18, she was injured in a bus accident that sent a handrail through her back and out of her pelvis. The crash crushed her foot, dislocated her shoulder, her collarbone, two ribs, and her leg were broken. Um, and you'll see like her paintings are about, death and decay and brokenness of the human body. And then she also married this artist, Diego Rivera, who we'll talk about next. But when she was in the hospital, she devised this whole plan to be able to still paint, what she ended up bringing home and continuing to do. So you'll see a lot of her stuff has, a lot of meaning. Some of it is, it's up to interpretation. Her famous self portrait. That's her with Diego Rivera. So Diego Rivera, also a prominent Mexican painter. As I was saying, he's the husband of Frida. He did a lot of large fresco murals, usually about the Mexican art movement. It's a very bright and colorful and vibrant. Now, the problem with him is that he was not a very great person. So a lot of people dislike him because of the way he treated Frida. Music from this time period, you have Gershwin, who you might know. He actually, um, if you've ever seen the show An American in Paris or the movie, he did all the music that they use in that. I put a link on there if you'd want to, listen to any of it. Oakland, he's a New York composer that created tonal compositions with simple harmonies of American folk songs. And then that kind of transformed into folk music. So you have your Woody Guthrie's, your Bob Dylan's. Then we're starting to get into, Woodstock. And then Tennessee Williams is really big in the play community during this time period. He did A Streetcar Named Desire. Arthur Miller, who's one of the greatest playwrights of all time. He did Death of a Salesman, The Crucible. He did a bunch of different plays. He actually was married to Marilyn Monroe at one point. And then with dance, and it says clip, it was taken down, but if you are interested, I would recommend looking her up. But Martha Graham, she's a pioneer choreographer of the modern dance. Alvin Ailey, he's an African American dance choreographer that performed on Broadway and in films. His stuff is really, really interesting to watch. And then Balanchine, Russian choreographer that found dance as a storyless, abstract, and highly structured. And that's it.